Have you ever just looked around at our politics, the economy, even our culture, and had that thought, wait a minute, nobody actually wants this, right? I mean, why do we so often find ourselves stuck in these systems that pretty much everyone involved seems to hate, but no one can figure out how to change? It's one of the most fundamental puzzles of our society, and today we're going to dive into a really fascinating essay that actually gives this problem a name.
This little exchange, it just nails the maddening nature of the problem, doesn't it? You can almost hear the sheer frustration in that first line. Everybody hates it. And then you get this almost childlike simple response. Well, then stop. If only it were that easy. This huge gap between what we all seem to want and what actually happens, well, that's the mystery we're going to try and unravel today. So how do you even begin to talk about this invisible force that pushes us toward outcomes that nobody is asking for? The essay we're exploring gives it a name, borrowing from a famous poem to kind of personify the whole problem. Let's meet Moloch. Now, to be super clear, we are not talking about some literal ancient demon here. The poet Allen Ginsberg used Moloch as this incredibly powerful metaphor for these vast, impersonal, industrial systems that seem to have a life of their own. You know, the kind of systems that just grind us down, even though we're the ones who built them and make them run.
Okay, so here's the absolute key takeaway. Moloch isn't about evil people trying to do bad things. It's a coordination problem. It's what happens when a whole bunch of people, each acting perfectly rationally for their own self-interest, end up creating a collective result that makes every single one of them worse off. The essay lays out this really chilling thought experiment to make this idea crystal clear. Imagine a country where everyone has to give themselves electric shocks all day long. Now, if anyone stops, the rule is that everyone else has to kill them. So what happens? Everybody hates shocking themselves, obviously, but they keep on doing it because they know if they stop, they'll be killed by a bunch of other people who are also just trying to avoid being killed. You don't need a single dictator. The horrible system just enforces itself.
I know, that sounds pretty abstract, right? A country of people shocking themselves. But the dynamic it's showing, this race to the bottom, it's happening all around us, all the time. To see exactly how this trap works in the real world, the source gives us a perfect, really easy to understand analogy.
Okay, so imagine a lake with 1,000 fish farms. To start, everything's great. It's a healthy system, everyone uses a filter on their farm, the water stays clean, and everybody makes a good profit. But then, one farmer defects. They realize, hey, I can get a competitive edge here if I cut costs by removing my filter. And it works. Their profits shoot up, and the lake is only polluted a tiny, tiny bit. But now, everyone else sees this. To stay in business, they're forced to remove their filters too, and that's it. The race begins. Soon, the entire system collapses. The lake is totally ruined, the fish die, and every single farm ends up worse off than they were when they started. Every individual decision made perfect sense at the time, but the collective result was an absolute disaster.
And that right there, that is the brutal, ruthless logic of the trap. It doesn't matter if the shared value is clean water or fair wages or even just basic honesty. Once somebody finds a way to win by sacrificing that value, everyone else gets forced into this terrible choice. Either you join the race to the bottom or you get eliminated.
And what's so wild is that once you see this pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. Think about international arms races. No country wants to spend billions on weapons, but they feel like they have to avoid being invaded. Or think about companies in a fierce market, totally unable to raise wages without being undercut by a competitor. The essay argues this logic is behind everything, from political corruption to the insane publish-or-perish pressure in the world of science.
It's a pretty bleak picture, isn't it? It kind of makes you wonder, are we just doomed? Are we stuck running ourselves into the ground over and over again? Is there any way out of these traps?
Well, the answer is yes, and it's something we actually do all the time. The solution to a coordination problem is, you guessed it, better coordination. A government could just pass a law saying all the fish farms have to use filters. A treaty can put a stop to an arms race. These things we've built, laws, regulations, social agreements, these are humanity's main weapons against Moloch. But of course, there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? To escape Moloch, you need some kind of central authority. But that very authority, the power to make everyone coordinate, can become its own kind of monster. And this sets up this constant, fundamental political trade-off. On one side, you have the chaos of Moloch, with everyone for themselves leading to these awful traps. And on the other, you have the risk of that central power becoming an oppressive tyrant.
And just to make things even more complicated, here comes the final twist: technology. For all the amazing things it does, technology is also a great accelerator of this conflict. It's constantly creating new, more powerful ways for us to compete with each other, and that means new, more dangerous traps to fall into. Think automated warfare or viral misinformation. The list goes on.
And that leads us to the author's final and honestly kind of terrifying question. With tech like artificial intelligence just over the horizon, we are gaining the power to create these optimization processes that are way beyond our ability to control. So, are we heading toward a final, all-encompassing race to the bottom that could end up sacrificing everything we value as human beings, maybe even consciousness itself?
So the essay leaves us with this really powerful, kind of cryptic quote. God, in this context, is just another metaphor for these giant, inhuman forces like Moloch. And when the author says they're a transhumanist, someone who believes we should use technology to overcome our basic human limitations, it's all in service of this big idea. The point is that just passively hoping these systems don't destroy us, that's the real arrogance. The only rational response, the author argues, is to actively fight back and try to seize control of our own destiny. It's a pretty provocative thought to leave you with. Are we brave enough to even try to kill the gods that we ourselves have created?